Great, thank you. Thank you. So you're all welcome to the September series of the Aging Lifestyle in Blacks and Asian webinar. For those joining us newly, ALIBSA is a knowledge exchange platform which was founded over a year ago. And the main aim is to reduce health inequality by focusing on improving health literacy. We all are aware of the barriers we Blacks and Asian experience when it comes to accessing health services. So we thought about providing this platform to give you an opportunity to understand some related common lifestyle diseases. We believe that your knowledge about these diseases will give you some form of autonomy and empowerment over your health conditions. We had our first in-person Congress, which was on the 1st of July, and we'll be sharing some videos with you regarding that. So yeah, enjoy that while we allow others to join us. Can you play the video, please?
Yeah, I'll play the video from our first workshop here. Give me just 1 second to fix the sound. I'll play the video from the start just to get the sound first, but
I see ALIBSA for women to understand that there's further. My name is Fatima Mosu. I'm the lead of ALIBSA. I miss you out there. For the future, I see ALIBSA impacting the lives of more communities.
Thank you so much for coming today. What is ALIBSA? It's an acronym for Emergency Platform, which is Aging Lifestyle Blacks and Asian.
I know there's things that out there with suffering or whatever, but I know
it's been such a strange alien to come to. First of all, environment.
My background is in race relations.
Do that process, you then see this transforming skills, trying to raising folks.
That's part of the cultural experience that is increased to get started and facilitated barriers.
Nearly 40, so it wasn't like I hadn't had period pains.
so they're relatively done.
Seems to work quite well. No reason. GP just sent a text to say your MRI, the radiology. They didn't have. Yeah, we talked about that.
And neurological.
Females not being listened to.
The GP is not entirely sure what they can actually, how they can help them, what we can provide for them.
Lack of confidentiality.
Just short term, still high turnover, for some others, but
So that was a capture of our experience. Could you stop that? Thank you, Alosh. So I would now introduce you to our moderators for today's session, which is Alosh Jose and Dr. Abolanle Adesope. Over to you.
hello, my name is Alosh. As I lead Cricket Cube Initiative. So we are an organization that delivers accessible and inclusive cricket sessions across the northeast of England. And we've been working with Dr. Fatia for a long time now. So we have come up together with the different ideas of playing cricket, including for something called Family PYC, Family Backyard Cricket, for ethnic minority families. So the idea is that for this platform is to make sure that our learnings from everywhere is spread across our communities here. And let Dr. Abolanle to speak now, to introduce herself now.
Hello, everyone. It's good to have you here today. My name is Abolanle Adesope. Thank you for joining us today.
So for the webinar, the agenda for today, we already had the introduction, and then we'll talk about our discussion topic today, which is about unlocking longevity and tackling our common age-related lifestyle conditions, especially among Asian and Black communities. As you know, there are a lot of medical inequalities in our societies, and this is really critical for us to ensure that we know what are these conditions and how to take care of ourselves. And then we'll have Q&A, which is always a very interesting, and we always have a lot of questions. So hopefully today's viewers can continue that trend. And I'll like to introduce our team. Dr. Fatia and I and Dr. Lavalanda has already introduced ourselves. And maybe Giselle and Toby can introduce yourself, and then Dr. Sheng as well. Yeah, so this is we've got a very good team in a very varied field as well. And I think that's one of the biggest strengths of ALIBSA, because we have got that knowledge from different areas coming together to create ALIBSA. So this is our team. Moving forward, Dr. Adisope, do you want to explain housekeeping rules?
Yeah, we have housekeeping rule here today. This would involve, please be on mute and try to be, you can engage, but would have to ask questions. You can raise your hand if you have any question, and you can use the chat box as well. Please switch on your camera. We would like to see your lovely faces. So thank you.
And we will have we'll be recording the session as well, as we've already noted. And then so today's speaker is Dr. Nduka Okwose. So he's a cardio specialism in cardiovascular and lifestyle medicine at Coventry University. So we are very happy to have you here, Dr. Nduka. And then the floor is yours now.
Thank you, Alosh, and thank you, ALIBSA team. Thank you. It's very nice to be here, and hopefully we'll learn one or two things today from my presentation.
I'll stop sharing now. Yeah,
that'll be great, please. Okay. So I'll just quickly share my presentation, and hopefully we can all see this. Okay. So can we all see this presentation?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll just try and take it to full mode and see if I still have control. Is it moving?
No.
It's not moving. Okay. So for some reason, I don't know why, but if it's okay, I'll just leave it this way and just talk through my presentation, if that's okay.
That's fine. We can see.
Okay, great. So thank you very much for the introduction. And like I said before, it's great to be here. So my name is Dr. Nduka Okwose, and I'm currently an assistant professor in cardiometabolic physiology. And I'm currently a researcher, and most of what I do is research-based. And my focus is mainly looking at heart failure and heart failure-related problems, and also type 2 diabetes. So all my research in the past 10 years has been mostly about heart failure and type 2 diabetes. But right now, I am slightly moving to look at ethnic minorities, especially Black people. So some of the data which will be presented today will be focused on Black people. So I have arranged this in such a way that there will be a quiz at the end. Nothing to worry about. So it's more subjective, and then I'll give you the answers later on. But when we get there, I'll explain the details of that. So quickly, we'll just move in. I don't think we've got enough time, so we'll just move in straight into the presentation. So I'll be talking about unlocking longevity and tackling common age-related lifestyle conditions. This presentation has been made slightly simple, and I'm hoping that it will be easy to follow. But by all means, when we've got questions at the end, please raise them, and we'll try as much as possible to answer the questions. So the highlights of today's talk is basically on aging, longevity, and the things that we can do. So I will be speaking on aging related conditions, longevity, lifestyle strategies to improve aging, and also give us some data on some of the works that I've done before, and then we'll conclude with some questions. So what is aging? Um, Generally, people have got different idea of what aging is, and aging could be seen as getting old in the simplest terminology. But biologically speaking, aging is all of the processes that happens from when someone's born to when they die. Okay, and by the processes, I'm talking more biological, so molecular changes, cellular changes, which result in damage and ultimately death. So we may start off being very healthy, improving, and we've got lots of energy and we're all over the place. But at some point, things start going down the drain until we die. Having said that, we must also understand that aging could be physiological or chronological. So chronological is just a number thing. So you start off at age 0 and then you die, or one dies whenever. Currently about 71 years is the global estimate of life expectancy. But when we talk about physiological aging, then it's different. So some people can be 20 years and they look like they're 50, and other people can be 60 yet they look and feel like they're 40 years. So again, aging can also depend on how we react or how we behave towards that. Obviously, there are other factors which can influence aging, which we'll also talk about as well. Okay. Having said that, at some point, I might stop sharing my slide and a colleague of mine who's on here will share his, so we can have some participatory activities just to make this presentation a lot more livelier. Okay. So moving on, why do we need to focus on aging? Well, basically, 3 factors. Our world is getting older, so we're living longer, and we're living longer, but it does not necessarily translate into living healthier. And the quality of life is also something that's very important when we think about when people are born until the point where they get older. And as you see, or when they die, and as you can see from the screen, the figures, you can see that within over a certain period of time, we've doubled how long we live. So from the 1800s up to about the 1950s, average life expectancy was still below 40 years. But now, between 1950 to 2021, we've doubled that, depending on where you are. Okay, so for people in Africa, in the 1950s, average life expectancy was around 36 years, but now it's around 61 years. And in places like in the Americas, or even in Asia now it's about 71 years. 30 years ago or 50 years ago, it was around 41 years. So you see, it's almost doubled. And we can see now that with the doubling of our life expectancy comes different things. So moving on to the next slide, we can see that aging does cause different kind of challenges. So in terms of our healthcare system, say the NHS or wherever it is that one is, people are now getting into hospitals more. Our hospitals are crowded, we've got less personnel and things like that. And it therefore means that we need to think about how we age in a different way and in a different light. And based on the statistics that you see now, the last point, which is quite shocking, is that in the next few years, 80%, 2050 to be precise, 80% of older people will be living in low and medium income countries, which is basically or predominantly where you find the majority of the Black people and also the Asian people. Like I said before, it's not just that we're getting older, but we're not necessarily living healthier. And a recent survey by published in the Lancet showing the global burden of disease shows that the risk or the prevalence of sugar-related problems, type 2 diabetes, is on the rise. It's actually increased up to 6% in 2021 from about 3% in 1990. So in real world context, it basically means that around 480 million people of the around 8 billion people we have currently have some form of diabetes, be it type 1 or type 2 diabetes. And what's even more shocking is that more and more people are becoming disabled or have one form of disability based on the conditions, the chronic conditions that they have. And be it type 2 diabetes, be it cardiac problems, be it respiratory problems, we see that every day. Within people here now, we've got some medical doctors, and we can see that this is a real world problem, and it's not going anywhere, but we can manage it one way or another. And I'll share some tips on how we can do that later on. And still on this slide and on the figure, you can see that it's not just the chronic diseases. There are also disability from things like air pollution. So that's really key. That's important. And if you look at the bottom figures or on bottom figures, you can also see that things like mental health issues are coming up as factors that cause disability amongst the general population, and even within our Black and South Asian or Asian communities in general, mental health problems are beginning to rise. They're on the increase. So the recent statistics by the World Health Organization has given us the top 10 global causes of death in 2021. So I think that was the last time we had any stats, and we can see problems like heart disease, COVID-19, obviously, stroke, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, so respiratory problems. You can see Alzheimer's and things related to dementia, aging, type 2 diabetes, kidney problems, and tuberculosis, majorly in Africa and maybe South Asia. But if you look at the right side of the slide, you can see also that these problems also cause lots of disability. When I saw this slide during my research, it was quite shocking to see road injury as part of some of the things that cause disability. So it's quite key to see now that not just medical problems, but even things like social problems and environmentally related problems also cause disability or contribute to disability. So it's important that we talk about these things and bear in mind these things. So I'll stop here now, and what I'm going to do is I'll stop sharing my slide, and my colleague will share his slide. And this is just for us to impute some of those things that we think are the determinants of aging and longevity. Okay, so it's pretty much participatory. Everyone needs to participate in this. So I'll stop sharing now, and I'll let Dami Lola, if you're here, to share your slides and maybe give us a few instructions on what we need to do. Over to you, Dami.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Unduka. So if you look at the chat box, you'll see the instructions on how to get the questions. Okay. So if you log on to menti.com, you'll be asked to impute a code. The code is 33185452. Can you see my screen?
So can I come in, Dami?
Okay.
For those joining from Nigeria, you may struggle to understand, but if you could log on to Menti, spelled as menti.com, menti.com on your phone, and when you log on to menti.com, it would ask you for a code to join this participatory activity. So you will now put the code as 33185452. Please let us know if you're struggling to join by putting it in the chat. Then we'll attend to you. Thank you. Sorry, Dami.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Fatiha. So we are getting responses already. So if Dr. Unduka would want to speak to this.
Yes, thank you, Dami. So again, it's just, you can just put in as many things as you think. Just put in those things that you think are determinants of healthy aging. Just keep typing and keep writing as many as you can. Okay.
So
Yeah,
I put genetics there.
yeah, that's good. So just keep typing, just keep putting it in, and yeah, so that's the idea really. So very good. We're getting lots and lots of responses. So lifestyle, climate change, diet, I can see pollution, health status, lifestyle habits, yes, exercise, hereditary, social connections, where you live. Great. Okay, very good. So so with this, we can see the more responses, the more, you know, we get the comments here, and those ones that are more bold, like lifestyle, it just means essentially that almost everyone is typing lifestyle, and it's bigger, and absolutely correct. So with this, I think it's very, very dependent on where you live, where you are, and all of that. So are there any more responses? Any more? Okay, so if you take a mental picture of these responses here, that will be great, because I will be talking about this in subsequent slides. Okay. Okay, so if you stop sharing your screen, Dami, that will be great, and I'll go back to my presentation.
Okay, doctor.
Okay, great. So let's go back to my presentation now. Okay, so I asked us what we thought were the different factors that impact on aging or longevity, and I did make some notes which I put in here, and others have also written theirs. So genetics, diet, and I put including alcohol intake, obviously, exercise, stress, sleep. Someone wrote down pollution, smoking, accident, current state of health. So there's so many. So while some are modifiable, others may not be. And yeah, somebody did say something about modifiable factors or something like that. So great, well done. I don't know who you are, but well done. So yeah, genetics, obviously we can't change that. You're born into a black family, white family, Asian or whatever, and we have these you know, conditions that might, you know, be associated with a particular ethnic group, a particular race, and things like that. That cannot be changed. But with diet, exercise, and some other things, obviously modifiable. So in my next slide, I just want to point out some more factors that affect aging. So a study looked at the determinants of aging, and they brought out 10 determinants. Okay, so which are listed on the right side, and this study was a global study. So they looked at different studies from different parts of the world. So Canada, South Korea, South Africa, Australia, and although I must say these studies were mostly in people with mental health problems, so people who suffered from, say, dementia or or other forms of chronic conditions like multiple sclerosis. So it may not necessarily be a rounded view of what we think, and that's why I thought it wise to open it out to us as well to see what we think. So these people did say or did point out physical activity, diet, self-awareness, outlook and attitude, lifelong learning, faith as also a determinant of healthy aging, um, which is quite important because I have done some research in the past looking at how faith influences how people take an outlook on life, and also if it has a relationship to how they deal with medical challenges. So that's good. Financial security. I know we're scientists and medical scientists, and sometimes we may not necessarily think about the economic or social aspect of things, but these are important factors, obviously, especially in Black and South Asian communities where the level of deprivation may be higher compared to a white Caucasian European society where there are social structures in place to combat things like poverty. Having said that, though, I also know that living in England for a while now, the level of deprivation and poverty, especially in children of school age, is also rising. So yeah, it's also important to note the that point independence being part of the determinants of healthy aging. And if one is independent and can do things by themselves, say activities of daily living, be it going to the shops and getting the groceries, newspapers and things like that, then that's also great. Okay, so being a cardiovascular and exercise physiologist and someone who's really interested in lifestyle medicine, my area of specialty is more on physical activity, a bit of diet, exercise, lifestyle in general. So the next slides will mostly be pertaining to these areas. Okay, so now that we know about some of these determinants of aging, let's go to what the WHO recommends in terms of lifestyle, physical activity, exercise. And from this figure here, we can see that no form of sedentary activity is a no-no. Okay,
Yeah.
That's a no-no, and the more active we are, the better for us. Okay, and the recommendation is replace any form of sedentary activity with some form of activity, be it walking, be it going to the gym, be it dancing, whatever tickles your fancy. As long as you're moving, that's great. And the recommendation for adults 18 and over is around 150 to 300 minutes per week. Obviously, that can be broken down into, if you want to do 3 days of the week, for these activities. But I must say, I must emphasize that whilst we want to be active or very active on some days of the week, we must make sure we are not couch potatoes on other days of the week. Okay, it's really important because new data also shows that while people may be active on certain days, the fact that they are highly sedentary on other days of the week tends to counter the benefits which they get from being vigorously active on one day. Say, for instance, you go to the gym once a week and you do your cardio, you go swimming. These are all fine, they're great, it's good. No activity is not good at all. Any activity is good, but then let's make sure that on other days we are doing some form of activity to meet the minimum recommendations from the WHO. Okay, so moving on, this study published in the European Society of Cardiology, it just hits the nail on the head, really. Okay, and it shows that the more steps you do, so aside people who have, say, physically challenged, everyone walks, and we can see that when you increase your step count by, say, 500 steps from what you do normally, you got a 7% reduction in cardiovascular mortality. So death from cardiovascular disease reduces by 7%. And if that step count increases, then you're reducing the chance of dying from any cause by 15%. And this is great news. And being a physical activity specialist, I think it is one of those key points that we want to always, send out to as many people as possible. Keep walking, reduce the amount of time you sleep, you sit down, just keep walking as much as possible. And these days, some forward-thinking establishments have got like standing work tables, and lots of people, I know of people who do their meetings while they're walking, so rather than just sit in a boardroom, people hold meetings while they're walking. Some people have incorporated like exercise bikes in their offices and things like that. Obviously, this is subject to finance, but then we must always try to, do bits and pieces here and there to make sure we, improve our health in general. So, moving on, still talking about physical activity. This is one of the studies which I published some time ago, and it was in heart failure patients, and we tried to encourage heart failure patients to improve their physical activity, basically step count, by 2,000 steps from what they will normally do. So over 12 weeks, we got heart failure patients to increase their steps from 5,000, which was their baseline, to above 2,000 steps. They hit that mark at about the 3rd week and continued up to the 12th week. And what we saw was an improvement in the quality of life. So from the top right figure here, it seems like it's a reduction, but that's actually an improvement in the quality of life score, which we use the Minnesota Living with Heart Failure questionnaire. And on the bottom right, you can see that the level of step counts was directly proportional to the fitness levels marked by peak oxygen consumption. So the more people walked, the more fit they were. So more activity is getting fitter, essentially. But more importantly, we asked these patients what was their the barriers and the facilitators to engaging in improved activity. And it's quite surprising, some of the responses that we got. So this was a qualitative study, and basically some of the comments were, when people have got one condition or another, say heart failure in this case, people are apprehensive. They're quite scared that just going for a walk, they will probably have a heart attack and things like that. But this study showed that it's not true. Heart failure patients can actually go for walks, and sometimes it calls to mind the social issues as well in everyone, not just Black and Asian community, but everyone, about how the social connections that we have can make or mar us. And if you have a family who's scared about you, if you say, when one has got a chronic condition, they don't want you to go out to do some form of exercise or activity, and they're like telling you, no, slow down, sit here, don't do any form of activity, we don't want you there, and things like that. That can cause some degree of demotivation. But also, we did find from this study that when people have got the right form of support, be it the medical staff, or be it support from the families, that can definitely improve engagement in physical activity. And there are lots and lots of studies to show that physical activity is safe in most conditions. In most conditions, I dare say most conditions, because we know that some people may have COPD, for instance, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, where they're really breathless and really struggling. In such situations, then any form of activity needs to be really controlled and supervised. And that's where we need medical personnel or rehabilitation staff to be there to support patients. Those are extreme cases, but generally physical activity is good even in chronic conditions. So my final slide before our activity for the day. So I promise hopefully in the next 5 to 10 minutes, we should be done so we can take some questions, is to talk about our sleep. So I've talked about physical activity. Let's talk about sleep. So the Center for Disease Control have put out some guidelines as to how much sleep we should be having in the general population, not just in Black and South Asians. And on the slide here, we can see that for adults, 18 to 65 years and even older, 7 hours of sleep to 8 hours is optimum. Okay, and if it's less than 7 hours, we try as much as possible to make sure we up it to 7 hours. And if it's above 9 hours, it's also questionable. So as much as we want to sleep, let's try and make sure that we're sleeping optimally, so between 7 to 8 hours. And in my there's something called sleep efficiency, and I'll talk about that when during the quiz. So I'm sure you can see from the screen now we've got quiz time. So I'll stop here for now, and then we'll go straight into the quiz. And I'll stop sharing, and Dami again will come on and share his slides because we've got a little quiz. Okay, sorry, before then I'll just quickly explain what the quiz is about. Okay, so as part of my research, we invited 45 apparently healthy individuals from a Black ethnic background, and most of them were mostly from Sub-Saharan Africa, so Kenya. Mostly 90% of my participants were from Kenya. We've got Nigerians, people from Ghana, Tanzania, Burundi. So these people, we got them to take part in some research looking at movement behavior, so physical activity and sleep, and how it affects cardiometabolic health. Okay, and so the mean age of our participants were around 43 years. Okay, and the range was from about 22 years to 62. These are apparently healthy people, normal blood pressure, BMI slightly higher, so on average overweight. Okay, and the blood chemistry were all normal. So these are fairly healthy people. Okay, and we gave them activity watches, Gene actives. So we monitored their physical activity and their sleep for 8 days. We got them into the lab. We did a fitness test. Okay, something we call the cardiopulmonary exercise test. We took some blood samples and then we did ECGs just to make sure they were all okay, and everything about what they've told us is actually correct. So these are healthy people. We did fitness tests and gave them the watches, and so we've got some results from these. So what I'd like us to do now is to guess what you think we found from these cohorts. So based on all that we've said about physical activity, diet, sleep, we know the right things. Yeah, so we know we're meant to be active for at least 150 minutes to 300 minutes, on most days of the week, at least 3 days of the week. So what do you think our participants actually did? So that's what I would like you to guess as part of this next phase. So over to you, Dami.
Yeah, thank you, Doctor. So I'm sharing the screen once again. Yeah. Please let's confirm if you can see my screen.
Yes. Okay. So I'll just keep talking through. So the first question: what is the average amount of time participants spent being sedentary or inactive? So this is just pretty much guesswork. Yeah. So after the 1 week, we gave these people the watches. We got it back, and we asked people. So we did the survey, and so what do you guys think? So just keep answering, keep your answers, keep going. So do you think Black people are really
you got it right on the Black people?
Do you think they're inactive?
What do we enjoy most?
Yeah,
activity or sitting?
So just keep guessing. So do you think they sat more? So just keep guessing, and then we'll reveal the answers. Okay.
But I'm interested. I mean, we have people raising their hands, but I'm interested in the occupation of these people.
Yeah. Okay. That's great. Yeah. Okay. I was expecting that will come during during the question time.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
So noted. So
yes. Okay. So I'll explain all of that later. Okay. Well, these people were mostly employed people, so that gives you an idea. These
okay.
people, most of them were in employment. So yeah.
Okay.
And some were academics.
Well, I chose 11.5 hours because I know
some,
what I do. So I'm like,
some work in health and social care.
okay.
Some work in the logistics industry and other parts. So keep guessing. So it's menti.com, and it's the code is on the screen. So if you go on the code, and you've got 2 seconds more. So we've got about 14 responses so far. There's more people on the chat, so keep guessing, keep going.
This is quite interesting.
Right. Okay. So it's time to reveal. so Dami, do you want to reveal the answer? Or
Yeah, doctor, I think you need to tell them the answer.
Okay, I need to tell them. Oh,
Yeah.
okay, now we've got more votes. Okay. So drum roll. Well, I can tell you categorically that of the people, the 45 people which we got into the labs, on average, they spent 11.5 hours being sedentary.
Yeah, I got it.
Not doing any form of activity. So just sitting down, maybe sitting on the computer, sitting watching TV or something, but 11.5 hours.
Okay.
So imagine that you're meant to be spending 150 to 200, 300 hours being active, of which most of them should be vigorous activity, actually moderate to vigorous activity. And here we have people spending 11.5 hours just sitting down. Okay, next question, please. Okay, so what is the average amount of time participants spent carrying out light activity? So this is like casual work, washing dishes and stuff like. So this is just not moderate to vigorous. So remember, moderate to vigorous activity is around 150. Recommendation is 150 to 300. So what do we think?
No.
Keep voting. The lines will close, and when the lines close, you may be charged. So
I chose 4 hours. I'm just revealing my answers.
Okay. Right. So it seems like majority of people are going for 2 hours, which is around 120 minutes. Okay, some 1 hour. Okay, so I can reveal that yes, the majority of people are correct. So our participants spent around 120 minutes, on light activities. So now, what I want you to think is people are spending 2 hours and plus 11 hours, so around 13 hours of daylight time doing nothing or very light activity. Okay, so just to give us a picture of where we're at in terms of physical activity and being active as a Black community. Okay, next question, please. Okay, so I think this is where the big issue, if you like. So, what's the amount of time our participants spent on moderate to vigorous activity, be it brisk walking or swimming, sweeping the floor, jogging, things like that. So again, this is just subjective, but what do you guys think were the results of our okay. So because we're running out of time, I'm trying to speed this up. So okay, most people are going for 1 hour. 1 hour. Most people think people spent 1 hour. Some people think it's 1.5. Others think it's 2 hours. Okay, no one's going for 4 hours. Okay. Right. Okay, so I can reveal that the 11 persons who voted for 1 hour are wrong. So,
Oh,
so, so our participants actually spent 2 hours, around 120 minutes, on moderate to vigorous activity.
oh, interesting.
Yeah. So yeah, it's quite interesting dynamics. So I've grouped this moderate and vigorous. So our activity monitors will tell you how much time on moderate and how much time on vigorous, but I've grouped it together. So they actually spent 5 minutes on vigorous activity and around 115 minutes on 112 minutes actually on moderate activity. But when you group them, it's almost 2 hours. So there we go. So
Is this daily or weekly activity?
so it's the average of the week.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
yeah, it's the average of the week. So yeah, so it's basically the average of the week, but it's still less than what the recommendations is for 150 to 200 to 300, and even more is better, but people are still doing slightly less than on average, slightly less. Next question, please. Okay, so what is the average amount of time spent sleeping? So this is just a general guess, so just keep guessing. There are no so do you think it's 5 hours? Do you think it's 6 hours? Do you think it's 7 hours? So yeah, so just keep guessing, keep guessing, keep guessing, keep guessing. Okay. Okay. So at the moment it seems like 6 hours. It seems to be waiting. Okay. So any more guesses? Okay, well, majority seems to think 6 hours, but in fact it's 8 hours. So
Okay.
most people were sleeping normally, so
Okay.
within the normal ranges that's recommended. But now the next question. So whilst people were sleeping within the recommended, what's the efficiency like? So this is the sleep quality essentially. So what do you guys think was the quality of sleep? So remember, above 85% is ideal. So what would you think? Do you think the quality was okay? Do you think it was 66%, or 76, 86, or 96? What are your thoughts? Just keep voting before we get to the last question. Okay. Good. Keep voting. Keep voting. We've got a first equal split across board. Okay. Can we get one more vote if possible? Aha. Right. Okay. Ooh, it keeps changing. Okay. So I'll give the answer now. The quality of sleep was slightly less than optimal. So it was around 76%. So, and what this means is maybe the people were waking up a lot more than they'll normally wake than they should, and things like that. Okay. So, but the sleep efficiency is about 76%. So ideally, like I said before, um it should be around 85%. Okay. So we've just got last question, and hopefully we'll end it here so people can ask any question and comments, because I'm aware we haven't got time. So what do you think is the participants overall fitness level? So combined, say if ideally it should be 100% fitness, where do you think subjectively and based on the data you've seen so far, where do you think they're at in terms of their fitness? Keep voting, keep voting. Okay. Okay. Yes. Okay. So 10 seconds more and I'll close the poll. Great. Okay. So, well, for those people who said for the 12% who said 90% fitness levels, I'm sorry, you're wrong. If you said 82% fitness level, you're also wrong. If you said 66% fitness, you are correct. So 15% of the respondents did get it right. Yeah. So after we got our participants to the on the bike to do a fitness test, only on average, people were just about 66% of the fitness levels that I would expect. So not bad, that's a B, but then it could be better. So I'll stop sharing now. So please, if you don't mind, stop sharing. And basically we've seen you know, a bit of a highlight of some of the things that we do, and some of the things that we need to think about when we as Black people or South Asians on improving our health. So yeah, I guess I'll just end here and just let anyone who's got questions, comments, and whatever to please ask.
Thank you very much for this beautiful presentation, Dr. Ndika. We, myself, have been able to learn a lot from this session, and it will be good for us to allow the people that have been raising their hands to ask some questions. Should we have Faith Vincent for now, please? Could you please unmute yourself and ask your question?
Hello.
Right. All right. Thank you. Hello.
I'm sorry about that network. Thank you very much, Dr. Ndika. It's been a beautiful presentation, and the awareness to the Black community and Asian community has been very impactful. My question basically is, what would be the first suggestion you would have to the Black community? Because we are like really working a lot, trying to get money to pay our bills. So finding that balance with exercising, keeping fit, so we can prevent aging quickly. What would be the first suggestion you would recommend? Because we don't have the time for exercising. So.
Okay, thank you, Faith. So that's the number one reason people give for not participating in activity. But don't forget that depending on the kind of work that you do, you can integrate physical activity. So it doesn't necessarily have to be exercise, where exercise is structured and things like that. But physical activity may not necessarily be walking. Okay, so in your workplace, be you in academia, like myself, you don't necessarily need to be on your desk all the time. You can always take regular breaks, do your work, stand up, get your laptop, go to a different room or different place, and that way you're building up steps. Okay, whilst one is at home, it's the same thing. Don't sit down all the time. Walk, do walking. When you've got to go to work, sometimes you may drive, park far away. Don't park close to your workplace. Park far away, so you can have at least 5 minutes of walking, and you can walk back as well. So it's just these things. And if possible, if you're really keen to improve your health, get someone who you can collaborate with or work with, and say, let's give ourselves targets and things like that. And we don't have time, so I guess I'll just stop here for now. But there are lots and lots of different examples that one can integrate. And obviously, we money issues, I may not be the best person to talk about that part.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ndika. Can we have Yara, please, to ask a question, please? Yara. Okay. Let's move on to Elias, please. Do you have a question, please? Okay.
He's probably on mute.
Okay. We can't hear you. All right. Alosh, do you want to take over from?
Yeah, I think Yara and Elias both on the call, but they're not
Okay.
to be mute. Oh, there, Elias.
Go on, Elias, you can hear
Thank
you.
you, Dr. Nduka, for that beautiful presentation. I just noticed you use some terminologies that I felt you could have given the meanings in the
Okay.
process. Sleep efficiency, because
Mm.
we may not be talking to people who are professionals in this area, and also couch potato. Maybe you don't have the time, but putting it up might give the opportunity for people to know. Then my question is a bit away, but I'm thinking of the determinants of healthy aging, and security can be one of the determinants.
Absolutely.
Considering our world now, where there are several areas, regions of the world where there are crises, war, insurgency, and all that. So I'm
Yeah.
thinking that as exercise or physical activity professionals, what would be your suggestion to those who live in those areas? Because they are very limited in almost every aspect of life. However, they still need to survive and age well. So what kind of modification would they be able to do in order to age healthy?
That's a very good question. Unfortunately, or there are situations where one has got to use, do I say common sense, or there's risks and there are pros and cons, okay? And sometimes there's a risk-benefit ratio. In situations where you're in war, say for instance, what's sadly happening in Lebanon and Israel, I think it's best to stay safe. Okay, so because we're talking about longevity. Okay, if you go out to do physical activity and you get bombed, it means you die quickly, and that's not the essence. So in this situation, staying safe, it's the determinant, if you like, for longevity. So I'll rather say safety will take preeminence in that situation. But obviously that's a very rare situation. And yes, you're absolutely right. Security is one of the determinants of healthy aging.
Yeah, I think it was a brilliant presentation. Thank you so much, Dr. Induka. And I think we probably will have to stop now because we are at 2 o'clock. However, let me share my screen so that we can learn more about our next presentation. Yeah, so our next presentation is on the 23rd of October, next webinar. So it would be, the keynote speaker would be Dr. Cynthia Chiang, and we'll be talking about collaborating with different diverse communities to support blood pressure management after pregnancy. Again, I think we're really, really important and really useful presentation. As many of us work with the communities quite a bit, so this would be quite interesting to learn about new strategies and things like that. So thank you so much for the presentation, Dr. Enduka, again, and thank you so much for everyone here for joining in. I think you've all enjoyed it and learned quite a lot from it.
Yeah, sorry, just before we leave, if Dr. Unduka could share his email address, is a member of the WhatsApp community, so you can post your questions on the WhatsApp community as well. He would address your questions. So
Yes, please.
please make the best use of the WhatsApp community outside the webinars to ask your questions, and that is his email address there if you wish to ask further questions behind the WhatsApp community.